The crisp autumn sun filtered through the towering skyscrapers of New York City, casting golden reflections on the busy streets below. The city moved with its usual, relentless rhythm, yellow cabs honking, pedestrians hustling, the distant hum of subway trains. But inside the grand ballroom of the charity gala, the atmosphere was charged with tension, a perfect blend of anticipation and formality. This was no ordinary event. It was a gathering of investors, philanthropists, and the media, all focused on supporting underfunded schools across the city. Adrian Blackwood, a billionaire CEO, ascended the stage with the calm confidence of a man used to commanding attention. His tailored black suit was impeccable, the crisp white shirt and sleek black tie accentuating his tall, commanding figure. His deep blue eyes swept the room, assessing the audience with the quiet authority of someone who had mastered every boardroom and board member he had ever met. Every step he took seemed deliberate, as if he were moving through the world on a plane all his own. As he reached the podium to deliver his opening speech, disaster struck. The polished floor, recently cleaned and still slick, betrayed him. In an instant, Adrian's foot slid, and he teetered dangerously, nearly toppling forward into the audience. Gasps filled the room, chairs scraped, and hands reached out instinctively, but the outcome could have been disastrous. Then, in a heartbeat, a steady hand grasped his arm, pulling him back to safety. The hero of the moment was Lila Monroe, a young woman in her mid-20s who had only come to the gala to accompany a friend for a charity project. The sudden shift of weight caused her to stumble and scrape her knee against the polished floor. But she didn't cry out or complain. Instead, she quickly steadied herself, eyes bright with determination, showing both courage and composure amid the chaos. Adrian blinked in surprise, his voice laced with concern and admiration. "Are you okay?" Lila took a steadying breath, a nervous smile tugging at her lips. "I'm fine, really. And don't worry about him," she said, referring to him. Her voice soft but confident. He studied her, noting the calm resolve in her gaze. "You're remarkable," he said, his voice deep and warm. "Brave and quick-thinking." "Thank you." Her cheeks flushed, heart pounding in her chest. Before her stood a man of immense power and wealth, someone whose name alone could command a city, but his eyes weren't cold or distant. They were observant, kind, and unexpectedly personal. Lila felt a strange sense of security and curiosity she hadn't anticipated. It was just luck. "I didn't want to get in anyone's way," she murmured, her voice almost a whisper. Adrian's smile was gentle but still carried an unmistakable air of authority. "You didn't get in anyone's way. On the contrary, I'm grateful. Without you, things could have ended very differently." For a moment, silence fell between them, the hum of the gala fading into the background. The light from the chandeliers reflected off their faces, capturing the subtle expressions of awe, surprise, and intrigue. Something unspoken had passed between them, quiet connection. Strange, yet familiar, that neither fully understood. Adrian tilted his head slightly, blue eyes locking with hers. "What's your name, Lila?" "Lila Monroe," she replied, her voice trembling slightly, but her gaze steady. "Adrian Blackwood," he said, his tone smooth and authoritative, yet with a warmth that softened the edges of his formality. "I hope we'll see each other again." Lila nodded, her heart racing, a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation fluttering in her chest. She sensed, almost instinctively, that this encounter was not just a fleeting moment of chance, it was the beginning of something extraordinary. A relationship full of unexpected turns, challenges, and perhaps romance. The day after the gala incident, Lila Monroe couldn't shake the memory of that fleeting moment when she had saved Adrian Blackwood. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his piercing blue eyes, the slight crease in his brow as he steadied himself, and the warmth in his tone when he thanked her. Her heart still raced, and a strange mix of excitement and anxiety lingered within her. Then, mid-afternoon, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and froze. Adrian Blackwood. The name alone made her stomach flip. She hesitated for a moment, then answered, double quotes, "Hello, this is Adrian. I just wanted to make sure you weren't hurt after yesterday. Would you be willing to meet so I can check on your knee?" Leela felt a flutter in her chest. She had never expected a billionaire, a man whose presence could command a room, to be genuinely concerned about her well-being. She nodded to herself, took a deep breath, and agreed to meet him at a nearby clinic. At the clinic, Adrian arrived punctually, exuding a natural elegance that made even a simple checkup feel important. He carried a small bouquet of flowers, nothing extravagant, but thoughtful enough to make Lila blush. "You didn't need to come, but I wanted to make sure you're okay," he said, his voice low and measured, carrying an unmistakable warmth. Leela smiled nervously, feeling both embarrassed and touched. "Thank you. I really am fine." The doctor quickly examined her scraped knee, confirming it was nothing serious. Leela exhaled in relief, but the warmth radiating from Adrian's gaze made her heart pound even faster. His eyes lingered on her, observant and attentive, not condescending, not distant, just genuinely concerned. "You remained calm back there," Adrian said, leaning slightly forward. "Most people would have panicked." "It was just instinct," Leela replied softly, cheeks warming. "I didn't think much of it." But Adrian shook his head, smiling gently. "No, you were extraordinary. Brave, quick-thinking, and composed. I've seen very few people handle a situation like that with such poise, honestly. I admire it." Leela's chest tightened, a fluttering warmth spreading through her. She looked down, feeling her fingers fidget slightly, her pulse quickening. "He's complimenting me, and he means it. He really sees me." After the checkup, Adrian suggested they grab a coffee nearby. The cafe was tucked away on a quiet street, warm lights spilling onto the sidewalk, the scent of coffee mingling with the crisp autumn air. Inside, the atmosphere was cozy, intimate, a stark contrast to the bustling city outside. As they sat across from each other, the conversation flowed easily. Leela found herself sharing more than she usually would: her work at the cafe, her small savings, and her dream of becoming an architect someday. Adrian listened intently, occasionally nodding, eyes never leaving her face. "You're doing something remarkable," he said softly. "It takes courage to chase a dream while supporting yourself." "I respect that." Leela's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't used to being noticed this way, especially not by someone like Adrian. Her voice wavered slightly as she replied, "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you." Adrian leaned back, a thoughtful expression on his face. His eyes softened as he studied her, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I'll always be here if you ever need anything, Lila. Not just today." Anytime, that simple sentence sent a warm, fluttering sensation through her chest. She realized, almost for the first time, that Adrian was more than the powerful, untouchable figure the world knew him to be. Beneath that poised exterior was a man capable of kindness, attentiveness, and genuine care. Over the next few days, Adrian invited Lila to collaborate on his charity project. They spent hours brainstorming, sketching layouts, and planning the exhibition. During these moments, subtle things began to happen. The brush of their hands as they pointed to the same spot on a blueprint. The way Adrian's gaze softened whenever Lila offered an idea, the small, encouraging smiles that seemed to linger a little longer than necessary. Each gesture, small as it was, made Lila's heart flutter. She tried to focus on the work, but she couldn't deny the growing warmth in her chest whenever Adrian was near. For his part, Adrian felt a quiet admiration for Lila's intelligence, her courage, and the purity of her intentions. He was drawn to her in a way that went beyond attractions, something deeper, more compelling. Yet, the outside world began to intrude. A message from her friend Megan popped up on Lila's phone. "Lila, be careful. Everyone knows who he is. Are you sure he's genuine? Don't let anyone take advantage of you." Lila's chest tightened. She knew her friend meant well, but doubt crept in. Is he really interested in me? Can I handle being with someone like him? Noticing her sudden tension, Adrian leaned closer, his voice calm but firm. "Don't let what others say affect you. I trust you, and I trust us." A wave of relief and warmth washed over Lila. She realized that as long as Adrian stood by her side, she could face anything. Her nervousness began to ebb, replaced by a quiet determination. She would trust him, and she would let herself feel whatever this connection was. The days after the clinic visit blurred into a rhythm of shared projects and quiet discoveries. Adrian had invited Lila to assist with planning his charity exhibition, and the moments they spent together were filled with both professional collaboration and unexpected intimacy. One afternoon, they were walking through the spacious gallery space where the exhibition would be held. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, casting golden streaks across the polished floors. Lila carried a notepad and camera, snapping photos and taking notes, while Adrian inspected the lighting and layout, occasionally pointing out angles or adjustments. "If we position the spotlight here," Adrian suggested, his deep voice calm and steady, "the effect will draw the visitor's eyes naturally to the centerpiece." Lila leaned closer to see his suggestion, and as their hands brushed, a subtle shock ran through her. She quickly stepped back, cheeks flaming. Adrian caught the movement, a faint, knowing smile curving his lips. But he said nothing, he simply continued, as if nothing had happened. The tiny moment lingered in Lila's mind far longer than she expected. Why does a simple touch feel so electric? Her heart raced at the thought, but she pushed it aside, focusing on her work. Yet she couldn't ignore the warmth in his gaze, the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't noticing. Later, during a short break, they sat on the wide steps of the gallery, each with a steaming cup of coffee in hand. Outside, the city buzzed, but here, in the soft sunlight filtering through the windows, everything felt suspended in time. Adrian glanced at her, a faint, appreciative smile on his lips. "I like how focused you are. You notice details most people wouldn't." Lila felt a warmth spread across her chest, a mixture of pride and embarrassment. "Try to do my best," she admitted, looking down at her cup. He leaned slightly closer, his voice lowering just enough for only her to hear. "You do more than that. I admire it. And you—" Her stomach fluttered. Her gaze lifted, meeting his eyes. For a fleeting second, The professional distance between them felt as if it had melted. She saw not just the billionaire CEO, but a man who genuinely valued her presence, her ideas, and her character. A subtle tension lingered as they packed up their things to leave. Leela's phone vibrated. A text from her friend Megan popped up. "Lila, are you sure you can handle him? You know how he is. Don't let anyone take advantage of you." Lila's chest tightened. Doubts crept in. Am I really capable of being with him? Can someone like Adrian truly care for someone like me? Sensing her sudden hesitation, Adrian paused and turned to her, his expression soft but earnest. "Don't let others define us," he said gently. "I trust you. I trust us." Lila felt a rush of warmth, a sense of reassurance she had never known before. Her doubts didn't vanish completely, but they were tempered by the certainty in his tone and the sincerity in his eyes. The next morning, Adrian invited her to review some final sketches at his office. The sky outside was a clear, crisp blue, the kind of morning that made the city feel alive. They sat across from each other, leaning over the same sketches, heads nearly touching. "I think this piece needs more contrast," Leela suggested, her fingers tracing a line on the paper. Adrian nodded, leaning closer to see better. Their shoulders brushed, and Leela felt a shiver run down her spine. She looked up, and their eyes met. A faint smile tugged at the corner of Adrian's lips, his gaze lingering just long enough to send her heart racing. "You have a keen eye," he said softly. "I'm impressed, thank you," Lila murmured, her voice catching slightly. Why does he make me feel so exposed yet safe at the same time? The day passed with small gestures, sharing coffee, exchanging glances, brief touches on the hand or arm when passing papers. Each one carried weight. Each one made her heart skip a beat. She realized that she was falling, quietly, inevitably. Yet, the outside world was never far away. That evening, while reviewing emails at home, Leela received a notification from social media, a post speculating about Adrian and a mystery girl at the gala. The comments ranged from harmless curiosity to snide assumptions. Is this just another trophy girl for Blackwood? She probably only wants attention and fame. Her chest tightened as she read, anxiety creeping in. What if they're right? Adrian, sensing her unease during a brief phone call, spoke reassuringly. Ignore them. What matters is you and me. Everything else is noise. Hearing his voice, calm and unwavering, Leela felt a wave of relief wash over her. She knew, in that moment, that she wanted to trust him, to let the feelings that were quietly growing between them take root. The following week, the city's buzz seemed louder than ever, each street corner and cafe echoing with the hum of New Yorkers rushing through their day. For Leela Monroe, though, the outside world had never felt so heavy. News of her association with Adrian Blackwood had begun to circulate online. She had barely finished her morning coffee when her phone buzzed incessantly messages, notifications, and social media alerts. A quick glance revealed headlines she hadn't expected. Mystery girl or gold digger. Adrian Blackwood's new companion raises eyebrows. Is Leila Monroe just another trophy girl for the billionaire? Her chest tightened, and a cold wave of anxiety washed over her. She sank onto the edge of her bed, scrolling through the comments. Some were teasing, some accusatory. Why does this matter so much to everyone else? She thought, heart pounding. She had never sought attention. She hadn't come into Adrian's world for fame, yet suddenly, she felt like the center of a storm. Adrian called at that very moment. His calm voice was a lifeline amidst the chaos. "Lila, are you all right?" I'm fine," she stammered, though her hands were trembling slightly. "It's just, everyone is talking. It's overwhelming." There was a pause on the line, and then Adrian's voice, steady and firm, came through. "Ignore them. Their opinions don't define us. I know who you are, Leela, and that's what matters. Let's not let this storm shake what we're building together." Hearing him, Leela felt her shoulders relax slightly. His words were like a shield, comforting yet empowering. Later that day, Adrian insisted on taking her to lunch, not at a fancy restaurant, but at a quiet cafe he frequented, far from the prying eyes of the city. The sunlight filtered through the cafe windows, casting a warm glow on the small table they shared. "I wanted to get you out of that noise," he said, studying her. "You don't deserve to feel attacked or scrutinized." Leela looked down at her coffee, feeling a flush of gratitude mixed with embarrassment. Why does he care so much? Her thoughts spiraled, tinged with a growing awareness of her feelings. "Thank you," she said softly. I just didn't expect this attention. I'm not used to it." Adrian reached across the table, covering her hand with his. The simple gesture sent a shiver through her, her pulse quickening. "I'll protect you from it as much as I can," he said, eyes locking onto hers. "But you must know no one else's opinion matters to me." The sincerity in his voice made her heart ache with warmth. She swallowed hard, feeling emotions she wasn't ready to name yet. He's not just kind. He genuinely cares. That evening, Leela returned home, but the unease lingered. She knew that being near Adrian meant stepping into a world of scrutiny she had never experienced. Her thoughts were interrupted by a message from her best friend, Megan. "Lila, be careful. I know you like him, but this is a different world. People like him, they don't mix with people like us. Are you sure you're ready for this?" Leela stared at the screen, heart clenching. Doubt gnawed at her. Could she really belong in his world? Could her feelings survive the whispers, the scrutiny, the judgment? Her phone buzzed again. Adrian. She answered immediately, a mix of relief and nervous anticipation flooding her. "Lila, I know it's overwhelming," Adrian said softly, "but I need you to remember something. I choose you. Not the image, not the assumptions. You, and I will make sure you know it, every day." Her eyes filled with tears, a mix of relief and vulnerability. He really means it. He sees me, not what the world says about me. She felt a lump in her throat as her heart opened to him in a way it never had before. The next day, Adrian invited her to a private preview of the exhibition space. As they walked through the empty gallery, the sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows highlighted the potential of the project. They moved side by side, heads bent over sketches and notes. "I think the centerpiece needs to draw the eye immediately," Leela suggested, pointing to a sculpture. Adrian leaned closer to examine it, and their shoulders brushed. Leela's heart jumped, a spark igniting deep within her chest. She tried to concentrate on the plans, but every subtle touch, every lingering glance from him made it impossible to ignore the electric tension building between them. "You have a keen eye," Adrian said softly, his voice low and intimate. "I trust your judgment completely." She swallowed hard, heat rushing to her cheeks. "He trusts me. He really does, and I trust him too." As they left the gallery together, Leela felt a quiet resolve settle in her. The scrutiny, the whispers, the doubts, they could not touch the bond that was forming between them. Yet she also knew this was only the first test. If she wanted to be with Adrian, she would need courage, patience, and the willingness to face the challenges that came with his world. Adrian walked beside her, occasionally brushing against her hand, his presence both grounding and exhilarating. They didn't need words. Subtle touch, each look shared between them, spoke volumes about the growing connection and unspoken feelings that neither was ready to fully acknowledge yet. The week following the gallery preview, Lila felt a subtle tension growing between her and Adrian, though neither of them had said a word about it. The city was alive as always, but the noise and gossip outside their little bubble seemed louder than ever. Social media had begun to speculate more aggressively. Why is Adrian Blackwood spending so much time with a mystery girl? Is this the new trophy girlfriend? Who is Lila Monroe, and what does she want from the billionaire? Lila stared at her phone, heart heavy, the words sinking in like cold stones. She had never sought attention. She never wanted to be in the spotlight. And yet here she was, at the center of whispers she couldn't control. Later that evening, she met Adrian at his office to discuss the next stage of the exhibition. The towering glass windows revealed the city lights of Manhattan, shimmering like stars below. The office was quiet, elegant, but the usual comfort she felt in his presence seemed replaced by something heavier. "Are you all right?" Adrian asked, glancing at her with concern. "I'm fine," Lila said quickly, forcing a smile. Though her chest tightened, Adrian frowned, sensing her unease, but didn't press further. He returned to reviewing the plans, but the distance between them felt palpable. Every brush of their hands over the sketches now carried an unspoken tension. The misunderstanding came that night, in the form of a photograph circulated by a gossip blogger. Adrian had been spotted at a high-profile event earlier in the day with a female executive. Nothing inappropriate, but the image was cropped and captioned, "Blackwood with another woman. The mystery girl must be heartbroken." Lila saw the post while walking home. Her stomach dropped and her pulse raced. He's been spending time with someone else. Her chest tightened, her hands trembling slightly as she stared at the screen. The words burned in her mind, even though rationally she knew it wasn't true. The next day, she avoided Adrian, barely answering his calls or messages. Her heart ached with confusion, anger, and hurt. She wanted to believe him, but the doubts planted by the world around her were growing roots deep within her mind. Adrian noticed immediately. He called her repeatedly, but she refused to pick up. By mid-afternoon, he arrived at her apartment building, insisting on seeing her. She opened the door reluctantly, her face guarded. "Please, just hear me out," he pleaded, his usual composed demeanor replaced by vulnerability. I don't know what to say, Adrian," she whispered, trying to keep her voice steady. "I saw the photos, and I don't know if I can trust what I see anymore." Adrian's jaw tightened, but he stepped closer, his deep blue eyes locking onto hers. "Lila, that wasn't what it looked like. She's a colleague, nothing more. I could never. Then why am I seeing all of this?" She interrupted, tears threatening to spill. "Why does it feel like everyone wants me to doubt you? Why does it feel like it's my fault for caring?" For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the distant hum of traffic. Adrian took a deep breath, closing the small distance between them. He reached out, gently cupping her face, and brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Because the world will always try to complicate things, Lila. But this isn't about them. It's about us. You and me. And I promise you, nothing, no one, will ever change how I feel about you." Her heart ached at the sincerity in his voice. She could see it, feel it, in every gesture, every look, every word. And yet, the fear of the outside world had built a wall she wasn't sure she could break down. She began, voice quivering, "I don't want to be hurt, Adrian. I don't want to lose this." Ceci leaned in, his forehead resting lightly against hers. "You won't lose me, ever. I'll spend every day proving that to you." The words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, yet she still trembled with the weight of doubt and fear. The tension, the misunderstanding, and the pressure of the world had driven a wedge between them, but the connection, the bond they had begun to build, was stronger than any rumor or misperception. They stood there, in the quiet of her apartment hallway, the city lights spilling across the floor like a gentle promise. Slowly, cautiously, Lila reached up and held his hand. "Okay. I'll try to trust you," she whispered, finally letting some of her walls fall. Adrian smiled, a mixture of relief and tenderness flooding his face. "That's all I ask. That's all I'll ever ask." For the first time in days, a sense of peace settled over both of them. Yet, deep down, they both knew this was only the beginning of many tests. Their love was genuine, yes, but to survive, it would have to withstand not just misunderstandings, but the judgments of a world eager to challenge them. The week following the confrontation about the photograph had been tense. Lila tried to focus on the charity project, but every time she looked at her phone, she felt a wave of anxiety. Social media hadn't forgiven her, and the whispers of New York's elite were relentless. Is she just a distraction for him? A gold digger in disguise? The questions pierced her, leaving invisible wounds that no reassurance could fully soothe. Adrian noticed the subtle shift immediately. Her laughter was quieter, her smiles more tentative, her eyes distracted during discussions. He had spent hours reviewing every interaction, every glance, wondering if there was a way to ease her mind. But nothing he did seemed to shield her from the storm outside. That evening, he invited Lila to his penthouse under the pretense of reviewing the exhibition layout. The city lights of Manhattan sprawled below, glittering like scattered diamonds. But even with the breathtaking view, the air between them was heavy. "Lila," Adrian began, breaking the silence, "I can see that the world is affecting you more than I realized." She looked down, fiddling with her sleeve, heart clenching. I can't help it. People are judging me, talking about me. Even when I know it's not true, it still hurts." Adrian took a deep breath and stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. "I've been thinking. Maybe I've shielded you too little. You shouldn't have to face this alone." Lila finally met his eyes, tears threatening to spill. "But I'm not used to this world. Your world. Everything is so overwhelming. Then I'll make it my mission," he said softly, cupping her face gently. "I'll be the shield. I'll protect you from what the world throws at us. All I ask is that you trust me. Trust us." Her lips quivered as she struggled to believe it. Trust. It's so easy to say, but so hard to feel when the world is shouting against us. Still, in that moment, she saw sincerity in his eyes, and her chest eased with a fragile sense of security. Just as she began to relax, Adrian's phone buzzed. His face darkened slightly as he read the message. "Your mother insists you meet her today. She wants to talk about your relationship." Lila's heart sank. She had anticipated some resistance from his family, But nothing could have prepared her for the weight of meeting Adrian's mother. A woman of formidable influence and opinionated demeanor. "It's my mother," Adrian explained, trying to mask his own tension. "She's difficult, especially about personal matters. But I have to go. She wants to meet you. I can do this," Leela whispered, though the nerves twisting her stomach betrayed her. The meeting took place in a private, exclusive restaurant, dimly lit and elegant, every detail meticulously curated. Adrian's mother, Evelyn Blackwood, stood waiting, a formidable figure radiating both authority and scrutiny. "Adrian," she said coolly, her gaze flicking toward Leela. "You've brought her, I see. Tell me, who is this?" Adrian stepped forward, standing protectively beside Lila. "Mother, this is Lila Monroe." "Leela, this is my mother, Evelyn." Evelyn's eyes swept over Leela with practiced precision, a subtle judgment etched into every glance. "I've heard about you. I must admit, I'm skeptical. Adrian has never involved himself lightly. I hope you understand the seriousness of this relationship." Lila swallowed hard, heart pounding, but held her gaze steady. "I understand, Mrs. Blackwood. I'm here because I care about Adrian, not for anything else." Adrian's jaw tightened slightly, his arm brushing hers in a quiet show of support. "Mother Lila is sincere. She's nothing like the rumors you've likely heard." Evelyn raised an eyebrow, unconvinced, her lips pressing into a thin line. "Sincere or naive? You are aware, Adrian, that the world they live in is different from yours." Leela felt a flutter of panic. Am I doing the wrong thing by being here? But before she could shrink back, Adrian leaned closer, his hand brushing hers under the table, grounding her. "Ignore her doubts for now," he murmured softly, just for her ears. "I see who you are. Lila, that's what matters." The dinner proceeded with tension laced in every word Evelyn spoke, subtly testing Lila with indirect remarks and veiled criticisms. Yet with each question, Leela responded with grace, honesty, and composure. Adrian remained unwavering, defending her not with anger, but with calm authority, showing his mother the depth of his trust in Lila. By the end of the evening, the icy wall in Evelyn's eyes had softened slightly, though skepticism still lingered. As Adrian and Leela exited the restaurant, the night air of Manhattan felt liberating and tense all at once. "You were amazing," Adrian said quietly, walking beside her. "I don't know if I could have handled that without you." Leela's chest tightened, a mixture of relief and exhilaration coursing through her. I just wanted to be honest. That's all, and that's why I care for you," he replied, his thumb brushing gently across her hand. "You didn't flinch. You stood your ground. That's more than enough." For a moment they walked in silence, the city lights stretching endlessly before them. Despite the challenge of Evelyn, the rumors, and the scrutiny, they knew something unspoken had solidified between them. A bond stronger than words, fragile yet unbreakable in its truth. The days after the dinner with Evelyn Blackwood were tense, but Adrian and Leela had found a fragile rhythm. The gallery project was moving forward, and their time together was filled with quiet collaboration and subtle glances that spoke volumes. Yet the outside world was far from forgiving. Social media had escalated their scrutiny. Every photo, every small interaction was dissected and misinterpreted. Rumors spread faster than wildfire. Is Lila Monroe really in it for love, or is she just another ambition-driven social climber? Blackwood's new companion seems too perfect to be true. What's really going on? Lila's hands trembled as she scrolled through the comments. Her heart ached at the thought of people questioning her sincerity. I'm not after his money. I'm not after fame. I just care about him. But would anyone believe that in a world so quick to judge? That evening, Adrian found her at her apartment, hunched over her laptop, eyes tired and red from reading endless comments. He didn't knock, but entered quietly, his presence filling the room with calm authority. "Lila," he said softly, voice low but firm, "look at me." She flinched slightly, unsure if she wanted to meet his gaze, but something in the tone of his voice made her. She looked up, and he was standing there, imposing yet gentle, the way he always seemed to bridge that gap between strength and warmth. "I can't," she whispered, voice breaking. "I can't deal with all of this. They don't know me. They don't know us. And it hurts. It hurts so much." Adrian crossed the room in long strides, crouched to her level, and took her hands in his. "I know," he said, voice softening. "I know it's overwhelming. But listen to me, none of it matters. Not the comments, not the assumptions, not even my mother's doubts. Only you and me matter." Her chest constricted at his words. She felt the sincerity radiating from him, each syllable wrapping around her like a shield against the world. She wanted to believe him. She needed to believe him. The tension escalated when a high-profile magazine published an article framing Adrian's relationship with Lila as scandalous. The headline screamed, "Billionaire Blackwood and the Mystery Woman, Love or Strategy?" Lila sank onto the couch, covering her face with trembling hands. Tears threatened to spill. She felt exposed, vulnerable, and utterly alone in a world that misunderstood her intentions. Adrian knelt in front of her, his hands gently cupping her face, tilting her chin so she met his unwavering gaze. "Look at me. Lila, I'm not worried about the world's opinion. I'm worried about you, and I care about you. I see you. I know you. And that's all that matters to me." Her breath hitched, and she closed her eyes for a moment, letting his words sink in. She could feel the warmth, the steadfast commitment in him. Slowly, she unclenched her hands and let herself lean slightly into his touch. I don't know if I can handle all of this," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "You don't have to do it alone," Adrian said. "I'm right here, every step of the way." The next morning, Adrian arranged for a private meeting with the magazine editor, confronting the rumors head-on. Lila, though nervous, accompanied him, her hand brushing against his as they walked. It was a small, grounding gesture, but it carried reassurance that words could not convey. "I will not let lies define us," Adrian said firmly. "Not you, not me, not us." Lila felt a surge of admiration and relief. "He's fighting for me. For us, he believes in me." For the first time, she felt a true sense of partnership, not just in the project, but in life, in love. That evening, Adrian and Lila returned to the gallery, now quiet after hours. The city lights shimmered through the windows, reflecting in the polished floors. They stood side by side, the tension of the past days slowly giving way to quiet intimacy. "You've been incredible," Adrian whispered, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I've never met anyone who could face this with such grace." "Trying," Lila admitted, her voice soft, her cheeks flushed. "It's hard, but with you, it feels possible." Adrian's hand found hers, fingers intertwining. His gaze softened, searching hers for any doubt, for any hesitation. "We'll face it all together," he said. "Every rumor, every opinion, every challenge. You and I together." Her heart swelled, a mixture of relief, love, and cautious hope. In that moment, the outside world faded, leaving only the two of them. Standing amidst the quiet gallery, connected in a way words could not describe. The city never slept, and neither did the storm surrounding Adrian and Lila. The magazine's article had spread like wildfire, and now tabloids, blogs, and social media feeds were buzzing with speculation. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire Blackwood's mystery woman sparks controversy. Is Lila Monroe using Adrian for fame?" Inside the private life of New York's most eligible bachelor, Lila's hands shook as she scrolled through the endless stream of comments. Her chest felt tight, as if the words themselves were pressing down on her. She wanted to run, to hide from the world that judged so quickly, so harshly. But more than anything, she feared disappointing Adrian. What if they think I'm not sincere? What if I can't live up to him? Adrian arrived at her apartment unannounced, his expression grave but controlled. He didn't knock. He simply entered as if he owned the space, not arrogantly, but with the quiet authority she had come to trust. "Lila," he said, his voice low, urgent. "We need to talk." "I don't know if I can," she whispered, eyes downcast, tears brimming. "Everything. It's too much. I feel like I'm drowning in their opinions." He closed the distance, kneeling before her. His hands cupped her face gently, tilting her chin so that her eyes met his. "Look at me," he commanded softly, blue eyes piercing yet full of warmth. "Listen to me. None of this matters, not the comments, not the rumors, not even my mother's doubts. Only you, only us. Matters." Her chest constricted. She wanted to believe him, desperately, but the fear and anxiety clawed at her. She shook her head slightly. "I want to, but I'm scared, Adrian. Scared that I'll fail you, scared that I'll lose you." "You won't lose me," he said, voice steady and sure. "I chose you, Lila. I trust you, and I believe in us. That's all that matters. Let the world talk. We will face it together." The sincerity in his gaze, the unwavering confidence in his voice, made her heart ache with a mixture of relief and love. Slowly, cautiously, she leaned into his touch, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability. The next day brought another test. Adrian received an urgent call from one of his board members. A competitor had leaked a manipulated video showing Adrian and a female colleague in a private moment, making it look like a romantic liaison. The footage was false, but the headline would soon circulate widely. "We have to handle this carefully," Adrian said, his jaw tight as he showed Lila the clip. "They're trying to provoke a scandal. They want to hurt us." And you, Lila's stomach twisted. The idea that someone could fabricate a lie to attack their relationship was infuriating and frightening. Yet, looking at Adrian so calm, so resolute gave her courage. "We'll face it," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Together, that evening, Adrian insisted they confront the media head-on. They walked into the press conference together, side by side, Lila's hand slipping into his for reassurance. Cameras flashed, microphones extended, reporters murmured. But Adrian's presence shielded her. "I am here to clarify the facts," Adrian said firmly, voice echoing through the hall. "The woman standing beside me, Lila Monroe, is no one's accessory or opportunist. She is genuine, honest, and a partner in everything I do. The rumors, the videos, they are false. What matters is trust, and I trust her completely. Leela felt heat rise to her cheeks, heart pounding, yet a sense of immense pride and relief washed over her. She had stood by him, faced the world's judgment, and Adrian had acknowledged her courage, publicly and fiercely, after the conference. They walked along the quiet rooftop terrace of his building, city lights shimmering below. The tension of the past days still lingered, but there was a new closeness, an intimacy forged in fire. "You were incredible," Adrian said softly, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "You didn't flinch. You faced everything with grace." "I just wanted to be honest," Leela replied, her voice shaking, tears threatening. "I wanted to show you that I'm sincere." He cupped her chin, lifting her face to meet his. His eyes were soft, yet filled with intensity. "And you've done more than that. You've shown me strength, honesty, and a heart I've never known before. I care for you, Leela, deeply, and nothing in the world can change that." Her tears spilled freely now, but this time they were tears of relief, love, and a sense of belonging. She leaned into him, letting herself be held, feeling the unspoken promise in his embrace that they would face every storm together. The days following the press conference brought a rare sense of calm. For the first time in weeks, Adrian and Leela could breathe without the shadow of rumors looming over them. But even in this fragile peace, the weight of unspoken feelings hung between them, heavy and urgent. They were at the gallery, finishing the final arrangements for the charity exhibition. The space was empty, bathed in the soft glow of evening lights filtering through the tall windows. The city skyline shimmered outside, a million tiny sparks reflecting the hope and possibilities of the night. Adrian glanced at Lila, who was adjusting the placement of a sculpture. His eyes softened, heart racing in a way he had not felt in years. He stepped closer, careful to close the physical distance without startling her. "Leela," he began, voice low and steady, "there's something I need to say. Something I've been holding back, even through all this chaos." Lila froze slightly, her hands stilling on the sculpture. Her heart beat faster, a mixture of anticipation and fear. What is he going to say? I can't pretend anymore," Adrian continued, his deep blue eyes fixed on hers. "Every day I spend with you, I see more of the woman I admire, the woman I love. I love you, Lila, truly, deeply, completely." Lila's breath caught. She felt her knees weaken slightly, but Adrian's presence grounded her. Tears welled in her eyes, a mixture of relief, joy, and vulnerability. "Adrian," she whispered, voice trembling. I love you too. I've been afraid to admit it, afraid of the world, of the rumors, of everything, but I do. I love you." A slow, radiant smile spread across Adrian's face. He stepped closer, bridging the last inches between them, and gently took her hands in his. "Nothing else matters," he said, his voice soft, intimate. "Not the gossip, not the scrutiny, not even my mother's doubts. It's you and me, always." Leela's tears fell freely now. She leaned into him, resting her forehead against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe, seen, and cherished. The chaos of the city, the pressure of expectations, the whispers of outsiders, they all faded into nothingness. That evening, as the gallery lights dimmed and the city slept beneath them, Adrian took Leela to a private terrace overlooking Manhattan. The The skyline glittered like a field of stars, the air crisp and clean. "I wanted this moment to be ours," Adrian said, softly brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Away from everyone, away from everything that tried to come between us." Leela smiled through her tears, her hands finding his. "It's perfect," she said, voice choked with emotion. "I've never felt so alive, so seen, so loved." Adrian's eyes glimmered with tenderness and determination. "We've faced lies, rumors, and doubts," he murmured, "but we've come through it stronger. I promise to always protect you, Lila, to always believe in us, no matter what comes." She looked up at him, heart full, eyes shining. "And I promise to trust you, to stand by you, no matter what." He pulled her close, their lips meeting in a tender, lingering kiss. The world seemed to pause around them, Manhattan's glittering skyline witnessing the unspoken vow between them: love, trust, and unwavering devotion. Weeks later, the charity exhibition opened, a resounding success. Adrian and Lila walked hand in hand through the crowd, their smiles genuine, their connection undeniable. Rumors had quieted, replaced by admiration for their courage and authenticity. And amid the applause and congratulations, the two of them shared quiet, private glances, each one reinforcing the bond they had fought so hard to protect. 5 years had passed since that fateful night at the charity gala, the night that had changed both Adrian and Lila's lives forever. Manhattan had grown taller, busier, and more dazzling than ever, but amidst the glittering skyline, Adrian and Leela had built a world of their own, a sanctuary of love, trust, and shared dreams. They stood together in their apartment, a penthouse overlooking the city lights, sipping coffee as the morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows. Lila's fingers brushed Adrian's as they held their mugs, a small gesture that had become a daily ritual. "Can you believe it's been 5 years?" Leela asked, her eyes sparkling. Adrian smiled, his hand finding hers, thumb brushing gently over her knuckles. "It feels like yesterday and a lifetime all at once. Every moment with you has been extraordinary." Leela laughed softly, leaning her head against his shoulder. "I never imagined a life like this. A gallery, charity work, and you and me," he said, tilting her chin up to meet his gaze. "Always me. I've loved watching you grow into the woman you've always wanted to be: strong, kind, brilliant." Her cheeks flushed, heart swelling with warmth. "I couldn't have done any of this without you. You believed in me, even when the world doubted. Even when I doubted myself." The gallery, now officially opened as a space for young artists and charity exhibitions, was thriving. Lila had become not just Adrian's partner, but his collaborator and equal, her insights and creativity shaping every project. Adrian watched her with quiet pride, remembering the nervous, uncertain girl who had once saved him at a gala, and marveling at how far she had come. "Do you remember that first project?" he asked, playful glint in his eyes. "How could I forget?" she replied, laughing. "I was terrified, and you were. Intimidating, yet somehow reassuring." Adrian laughed too, the sound warm and familiar. "I think we were both terrified, but look at us now." They stood together on the gallery terrace, the city below twinkling like stars. Leela leaned against him, feeling the steady warmth of his embrace, a comfort that had never wavered, even through the storms of rumors, misunderstandings, and family pressures. "I never thought I could be this happy," Leela admitted softly. 5 years. It feels like we've lived a lifetime in love." Adrian brushed her hair behind her ear, his eyes serious, deep with emotion. And there's still so much more to live, so many more memories to make. I want every moment with you, Lila. Every laugh, every challenge, every quiet morning like this. Tears glimmered in her eyes, a mixture of joy and gratitude. I want that too, she whispered. All of it, with you. Later that evening, they hosted a small gathering at the gallery, a celebration of their work, their love, and the artists they had mentored. Friends, family, and colleagues mingled. But Adrian and Lila found themselves often stealing quiet moments together, hands intertwined, sharing knowing smiles. It's perfect, Lila murmured, resting her head on Adrian's shoulder as they watched the guests mingle. Not perfect, he replied, smiling down at her. Better, because it's ours. And in that moment, with the city lights casting a golden glow across their faces, they knew that no rumor, no challenge, no force could ever undo what they had built together. Their love, born from a chance encounter and tempered by trials, had become a lasting, unshakable bond.